Okay. First of all, thank everybody for being here. It's packed. I'm actually shocked. And I appreciate it. My name is Steve Keil. I'm with a company called MariaDB. And today, we're going to talk all about MariaDB, our amazing use cases. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. Because everybody else does that. And I know how boring that is because I've sat there many times and you just don't want to hear it. And we're a bit of a different company. We're open source enterprise. And I like to think we have an open source philosophy. So I want to be a little bit more fun today and more philosophical for you and take you down a more thoughtful journey of self-service analytics if you don't mind. And I promise it'll be about analytics in a way. So first, let's look at some history. Because history is fun, we should learn from it. And if you go back thousands of years, you have analytics, right? You've had cuneiform. They did this to track farms and usage. We go back into the 19th, 20th century. Analytics is everywhere for farming as well, usually. 1965 was the first reference to big data. This was an article in the newspaper about the IRS in the United States that wanted to take 745 million records as well as fingerprints and store it in a data warehouse. And there was a huge outcry about privacy and it got shut down. Imagine that. Now let's move to the modern times, 21st century. 2005 was the first sort of modern reference of big data by these guys, O'Reilly. And that was the time when we had Web 2.0. All the data was being created, and they're like, data's crazy. It's going to be everywhere. Then we had this, same year. Hadoop was created. Obviously, that was going to save us. It's amazing. And then in 2011, big data really got crazy. And I'm talking about big data a lot because usually when we're thinking about analytics, these things go together. And you can't really have really good analytics and wisdom if you don't have the data behind it. So in 2011, these guys, McKinsey and everybody else, and you know when McKinsey's on it, we're on the wave, right? These guys say the next frontier is big data. Big data is going to become the basis of competition, underpinning all the blah, 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 the return on investment, the innovation, and everything else. And the world went crazy. Yay! Big data. All this money. In fact, how much investment in money just in 1 year? Whoops, that was fast. 1 year, 2011 to 12, about 5 billion. Just in the 1 year. Over the next years, it goes up to about 15 billion. All these startups launch, we're going to disrupt you. Big data, big data, big data. And data is the new oil. A term I particularly hate. Data is not oil. And when we think about it as oil, it goes to the bias I'll be talking about. Flash forward a few more years. 2015. Not even that many years. 4 years later. Gartner. We love Gartner. Guess what? They take big data off the Gartner wave. How could they do that? They betrayed me. And they also said, 60% of big data projects, guess what? Failed, 60%. Boom, they don't work. Flash forward, 1, 2, 3 more years? And guess what? Gartner comes out again and says, oops, we were wrong. It's not 60%. It's 85%. 85% of the projects have failed. The Hadoop stuff has failed. The big data stuff has failed. We've failed. But don't worry, everybody. Progress. We will get there. Whoops. We're going to finally figure out what to do and make a use case for that Hadoop stuff, and it's called the data lake. And the data lake is awesome. We're going to dive in and embrace this. At all the big companies, you got to have one, and we're going to succeed. We're going to be able to put self-service analytics on the data lake. And how's that gone? Let me just give you my opinion. All over the internet now, you see data swamp. Because it doesn't work. Whoops. Even Gartner, once again, has published a report last year, and this year I'm sure it'll be more damning, about how to avoid the failures, because there's so many failures. And it goes through, failure number 1, the enterprise data lake. Failure number 2, the everything data lake. I recently was talking to a customer, and he's a CXO at this huge global 50+ billion euro company. And I was asking him, how's your data lake doing? And he laughed kind of maniacally, and he said, Steve, I just came back from a lunch where we have this little secret cabal of CXOs of very large companies here in Germany. And we were all asking each other about the hundreds of millions of investment we put in our data lakes and how that's going. And every single one of us said, guess what? It sucks. It's not even in production, and we're never going to use it. We just blew it. Gone. Because it's so hard to put in production. No one's really using it. So I'm going to predict, I'll just call it right now, the data lake isn't even going to be a swamp. It's going to be that. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, but it's where the same thing happens over and over again. And I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. But don't worry, because guess what? Self-service analytics is going to save you. Yes, we're going to have pretty graphs, and it's going to be easy, and it's going to take all those other problems away. We won't fail this time. Nope. Victory is ours. And that's why we're all here. And what's our goal? To enable business users to get the information they need, this is my definition, to make wise decisions, when they need it, how they need it, and most importantly, without the help of IT. How many people here are IT? Yes. How many people here are the business users? I'll probably piss all of you off. So, that's the goal, right? Because they hate IT, and IT doesn't like the business. Every once in a while they like each other, but there we go. And they say, the old way is slow and rigid. Self-service is going to be fast. The old way, you need power users. It's so hard, and analysts. The new way, everyone can do it. Business users. The old way, it's someday IT is going to answer my ticket. The new way is, all I need is me. I'm going to empower myself. The old way is, we can't scale because it's centralized and it's so hard, and now it's going to be analytics everywhere. And the old way is, I'm never going to get a raise because I can't answer these questions. The new way is, oh my God, I'm going to have the answers to everything, make billions, and get a triple raise. Yep. So we dive into that. 7.3 billion of investment. Ask me my prediction. Two things you're already seeing. One, the naive school. This is mostly driven by the analytics companies. The Denodos, the Tableaus, or whatever, they give you the pretty graphs, and they say, don't you worry about it. And then there's the skeptical school, which is me, the old dogs, the data warehouse people that have seen this over and over and over again. And we're thinking there's problems already, such as the tools are still hard to use. I'm sorry, but they're still a little bit hard to use for some people. And probably because we're used to real simplicity, the dumbing down of our brains, the UI of the apps. Anything harder than that anymore is pretty much hard to use. Security is definitely losing, and IT is saying security is everywhere now on a laptop, and this data, we're going to die. Data is now messy, which means, but they're doing analytics in this department one way, and they're doing it this way in another, and we can't put it together, and we don't have control over a single vision of truth, and it's messy. And of course, license costs add up. It gets expensive because everybody wants their tool, and everyone wants their fancy Denodo and their blah, blah, blah. And my favorite is everyone's also forgetting there's a data warehouse stack under those fancy graphs. You still need IT. Sorry. End of the day, there's databases. Oh, look. Hidden plug run by MariaDB. There's databases running all that stuff, right? You're not going to get away from it, which is IT's revenge. And it's fast-moving, and every time you need to connect something in a new data source, you're going to go back to IT. So give it up. Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, Groundhog Day. And I think we're going to see that again pretty soon about self-service analytics. Now, I think we've failed. And we continue to fail and fail and fail. And I think it's important for us to be curious like kids and ask why, because we never do that anymore. Why have we failed? Well, I don't think it's the technology. All the technology works. MariaDB works, Oracle works, Teradata works, Vertica works, we all work. We work just fine. It'll do the job. It ain't the technology. The self-service analytics graphs work. You can get graphs. You can get ad hoc queries. It works. Would everybody agree that most of the technology pretty much works? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna check my time because I haven't been, and there's no clock. Anyway, and I don't think it's the process. All the consultants will tell you this process, and you can pay a lot of money to say, how should I do this? And they do, and McKinsey will come, and they'll take your money, and they'll say things like, here it is, this is how you get self-service analytics to work. Start with your priorities. And that's fine, we can do that. Here's a typical list. I forgot to add one. So, define the business value, assess your needs and capabilities, implement a solid training program. Yes, 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 yes. And the last one I'll add, which I forgot, is start small. Don't do the big bang, even though some consultants will tell you do a big bang. Just don't do it. Baby steps and experiment. So there you go. We can get that off our plate. I want to go to the root cause, though, because you don't think we've known that for 100 years? Every time we fail anyway, there's something else wrong. I think there's something else wrong. So I want to go to the root cause. And it's you and me. That's the root cause. I totally forgot to do my timer. And I think the root cause is that we value intelligence as a human species far more than wisdom. Our technology is constantly presenting us choices that we think are wise but are not. They're smart. Is it smart to put a nuclear power plant on a fractured piece of ground like Fukushima? Not particularly. Our technology moves at a faster pace than we can keep up because humans are still very tribal and our brains are still very, very tribal. It's outpacing us. And too much intelligence, here's my main tenet, is never wise. That's our problem. Every time we sort of go out of this organic distribution of humanity, we create an anomaly. And I'll give you some examples, because what do you mean, Steve? Examples in technology and information. We have a long history of technology bias, how we use it. We say it's going to equalize us and make things better and connect us and succeed. It doesn't. Every little technology revolution, if we go back, from the merchant days and colonialism, it's basically extracting resources. I'm going to go kill brown people in Africa to make me rich and screw all of you guys, right? The feudal lords and the classes, the railroads, it's going to connect the whole country and we're going to all thrive and do better and better and better. Well, not really. Usually we had Morgan Stanley and everyone else and the robber barons, be called that for a reason. Energy grids, same thing. Manufacturing, oh my God, we're going to elevate all of humanity, but actually we had a bunch of slaves and crappy conditions and child labor. End of the day, the rich, or the elite, or the few, use the technology as a bias to dominate and control over and over and over again. And then they make these big buildings. This was the Chrysler building. That was supposed to be the wheels of the Chrysler car that represented as sort of like monuments to our glory and how smart we are. And you think that changes? Well, not really. The internet comes along. It's supposed to give us the power to connect, to be even better and stronger and self-enabled and blah, blah, blah. And we're not. We're more atomized and mediated and alone than ever before. Same thing, less connected, not more connected. And then you have Apple. Oh, it's different as well. It's not like Chrysler. They don't do the same things. They're going to make everybody better. But no, they're going to spend billions on their building, which is just like the Chrysler building, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day. And if you just put a shrine in it, oh my gosh, we've done this for 3,000 years. Technology bias. Oh, but gosh, Steve, don't worry. The robots. That's going to equalize everybody. We're not going to displace workers and upskill them. It's going to be fine. The robots will do it. Or, hey, it's the same question. AI will say this. Same question Norbert Wiener, the inventor of AI in the 1800s, he made a little AI sort of based farmy thing. He thought about this, and here was the question he asked, and it's the same one I'll ask you. With the advent of artificial intelligence and robots, will humanity be benefiting from this, sitting on the beach, sipping our lemonades, while the robots do our work for us? Or will the paucity of economic opportunities drive us to more and more social disruption? And I'm telling you, it's going to be the second. Call me wrong, because it's smart and it's not wise. We don't value wisdom. The age and revolution of wisdom has not come along. Now let's look at the long history of information bias. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean that for thousands of years, you and I are always 2 steps behind. Analytics is from the few. The pharaohs heard from God and gave us the word, right? And then what happened next? You know, we slaughtered animals and tried to have the gods give us favor, etc., etc. And then writing came in scrolls, and we thought, okay, everyone's going to have analytics and information and usefulness and can make decisions on our own. But no, only the priests had access to the scrolls and writing, and they sat around in the town squares, and we sat there and listened in these forums, and they told us, the few, the many. And then what happened? After this guy, it's, we're not 2 steps behind anymore because we've got education and books. And as soon as that happens, we're all going to be equalized. Education's going to spread everywhere. That's Cambridge or Oxford. And these books are going to give us such a lift. All the boats will rise. But only the few had access to write books, the monks and the scribes, because it was expensive and basically nobody knew how to read anyway. And then, the printing press is going to come around. And everyone's going to have access. Well, that was pretty one way too, wasn't it? I print, you read my opinions, whether that's government or business or whatever else, and journalists on the take, and anyway. Then the internet's going to come around. Equalize us all, we're all going to have access to information. And it's even worse, you know why? Because it's mistaken agency. We're not programmers for the most of us, probably most of you are, but as a society, the people who actually create the content and the businesses behind it drive the content, drive the information, drive the power. We think we have it because we say, we can make a WordPress site. I have all this agency now. But we don't. It's mistaken agency. Let's look at some silly examples of the olden days. I just think these are fun about how we do analytics, because we've always had information. It was paper, but it was information. Samsonite, everybody knows them. We've had luggage forever. For literally like 3,000 years, I'm sure we've had luggage. And I remember as a kid, my parents dragging these big leather things around. It was hard. It's awful. And Samsonite's been around for over 120 years. About 115. Guess how long it took them to think, wait a second. The wheel's been around for like thousands of years. Luggage has been around for thousands of years. What if we put wheels on luggage? 70 years. It took them 70 years to develop the wheeled luggage, despite all these observations. Even funnier, look at these guys, Gillette. They've been around for ages. And if you remember, I remember this, the Gillette twin blade. It was awesome. It was the first twin blade ever. Amazing. Well, they were doing well with this in the 70s, and they thought to themselves, what happens next? What are we going to do about our sales? And they put together all these focus groups and consultants and all this stuff, and they spent, guess how much? Guess how much? Thinking about the next thing. $780 million. And guess how long it took them? 3 years. So they put their scientists and the research and the analysts together, spent almost $1 billion, and this is like back in the 80s. And guess what they came up with? 3 blades. I will bet you that if me and you get in a room with a bottle of whiskey and spend the weekend together thinking about this stuff, we could have come up with 3 blades. Actually, we might have said 5. Is it smart? I'm not even sure. Maybe. Is it wise? No. If I were a shareholder, I'd be pissed. But guess what? We're told it is because the winners, they write their own history. I read about these people. Gillette, in particular, as a case study in my MBA, is a huge success. And Samsonite. I think it's ludicrous. If you look at the facts as well, and you dive into that, you'll see it's a failure. What do I mean that? Fortune 500 companies from 1955. How many are around today? It's only been like 60, 70 years. How many? 12%. That's not really a good track record. Whoops. I gave it away. The average lifespan of companies on the S&P, I gave it away. It's 20 years. It's not very long. I don't think we're a success. I think we're a failure. And if you look at our dreams, right, our hopes and aspirations, we had dreamed of flying cars. I remember I did that. We were told we were going to have vacations on the moon and Mars. We were going to have limitless energy. We were going to have food for everybody because our technology would save us, and we were going to distribute it. And we don't. We have a lot of starvation. And you were just going to be able to do this, go boop, 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 boop. Healthcare. We were going to have all that. And of course, thanks to the robots, we were going to spend a lot of time on the beach because we just got nothing to do. 10 minutes? Oh, gotta run. 10 minutes. And Silicon Valley, for all its technology and all its stuff, every 5-6 years, guess what? There's a drought. And there's big fires just like right now. Happens like clockwork. I don't even need big data for that. I don't even know to go through terabytes of weather data. It just literally happens every 5 or 6 years. Oh, but guess what? Every 5 or 6 years we go, oh, we didn't see that coming. A drought? There's a big panic. We call a state of emergency. We spend billions of dollars. We try to whatever. California gets on the edge of bankruptcy again, and they call the president, and they send in airplanes with water, and they go, oh, we could have never predicted this because we're stupid. We might be smart in the home of Silicon Valley, but we are not wise. We're basically resorted to sitting there and doing a rain dance and hoping it rains, and the president sends planes with water. And that's disappointing. And I think we really owe it to ourselves in general to think about our bias of technology and information a little bit harder. Like kids. Do you remember when you were a kid, why is the sky blue? And your dad said, well, because it's blue. But why is it blue and not green? And you said, well, I don't know. The sunlight's refracting the other colors, but it doesn't refract blue. Well, why doesn't it reflect blue? Something about the particles and the width of the particles and oxygens and nitrogens and but why are those particles blue? And have an ice cream. Shut up. But at least we asked. We had this innate curiosity to solve things. We don't anymore. We've not come to this age of wisdom and not even understood that we need it, which is pathetic. So we need to change our perspective. I'll try to go fast because the timey lady is here. And it has to change from extractive to additive. From us versus them to together. IT and business, you guys are sitting together, give each other a hug. And the tools, stop thinking they're going to save us. It's like something they're going to do to us. Almost like humanity is the problem. They're working against us, not for us. We're never being elevated. We're always being split apart. And we have to remember that the bias of information is towards contact. We are human. The bias of information for humanity is actually contact. Things that bring us together will succeed. Things that separate us will fail. And if you don't take that philosophy from the first place, you're going to fail. The connection of humanity is bias. The bias of humanity is connection. And with all our tools and our connections and our communications, all the studies now, and you just feel it, is that we are more atomized, not less. Go back and watch The Great Dictator. He talks about how the radio and everything is going to bring us together, and we're all going to thrive as humanity with our new projects, and we're not. We must recognize philosophically that humanity is a team sport, that IT and business and the customer and everyone else have to be buddies. That together we actually feel more connected, and when we feel more connected with our companies and our communities, our societies, our families, our friends, we thrive. When we feel less connected, it sucks. We're not motivated. We as people want more flexibility. And I truly believe this. We want shared value. It means in the old days, knowledge was power. I know something that you don't know. I'm going to be in this boardroom. We're going to close the doors and talk about information that you can't have access to. And you're like, oh, I wish I could be an executive. I want to be in there. Now, sharing is power. And sharing, when you share the information, it gets adopted much quicker. We did a project at a very large company where we took their entire data warehouse, which only a few people had access to because it was bottlenecked, it was slow, you couldn't query it. We copied it, word for word, data bit for data bit. onto a Kubernetes instance that you could just spin up at any time, the entire data warehouse, in 5 minutes, and gave it to every single person in the company, business user. Okay, it was in a massive, long, prolonged fight with IT to do this, and it took years, but we did it, and guess what? For the first time working with that company, and I'd worked with them a long time, I got feedback of, oh my God, the business users love it. They have access to all the data, all the information. People used it. You got to focus on the community, and that community is wider than just IT and just business. You've got to be thinking about really working together, and honestly, I think IT sometimes is afraid, and they say, oh, but I'll lose my job. Self-service, so they're not going to need me. That was the same argument about, oh, if we go to the cloud, we're going to lose our job, right? Oh, all this data is going to go in the cloud, and everything's going to run in the cloud, I'm not going to have a job. Really, at big companies, I haven't seen any layoffs, because now they're just managing stuff in the cloud, and oh, this instance and that instance, plus they just have all the old stuff they used to do with, that they still do stuff with. No one's lost their job. You got to drive out fear and actually work together. And then they think the business are stupid, blah, blah, blah. Well, we are stupid in IT. Deal with it. Accept it. Educate me. Don't fight me. So I have to close. So I'll just say that I think that our world, and I'm biased obviously because we're an open source company, is moving to an open peer-to-peer economy that's really based on transparency. It's going to be easy to try stuff, to experiment, to collaborate, to share, to work together. And those that do this will succeed. Those that release history and say we don't have to work this way, let's just get rid of that ball and chain that is dragging us down, this mentality, will succeed. Those that connect us will thrive. As I mentioned before, those that connect employees will thrive. I'll really quickly give an example. We did a project for a company, and they had this different profit centers all over. And guess what? All the employees fought. Oh, I'm not going to help you there, I'm not going to help you there, whatever. We did a project where all the employees at the different profit centers were connected, saw each other's P&Ls, and were forced to help each other. And guess what? They actually all ended up making more money, not less. Oh, fancy that. When we work together, we're more motivated and we make more money. Obviously, there's a lot of stories when you connect to your customer, you get more integrated, connecting with your customer and their friends. There's a really funny one about a very large automotive company. They put out a video that allowed everybody to sort of deconstruct the video and make their own video. And everybody actually thought the car was stupid. And so they deconstructed it and remade the video, making fun of the car. And what did the car company do? They yanked it. You know what they should have done? They should have said, oh yeah, customers and friends, do all that and help us make it better. Let's engage you. No, it's the mentality. They're idiots. They're not wise. They're not idiots, they're smart. They're not wise. And obviously connecting with suppliers. And so I'll finish now because I'm getting the cue with just my motto that if you take this journey together, and you have to fundamentally realize we will keep failing in analytics over and over and over until we change our mindset. I truly believe we are developing technologies that'll change our evolution, they'll change our economy, they'll change our ecology more than ever before. I mean, with AI, machine learning, robotics, analytics, big data, it has this power to do that. And we have a choice. The red pill or the blue pill. Basically, are we going to approach that change with a sense of responsibility and wisdom and rake all the boats rise up and do this together? Or are we going to continue failing? With that, I'll just say thank you. Oh no, the slide went away. Well, thank you. There's a MariaDB slide there.